of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Gauranga Mahaprabhu says, if you just keep trying, I'll take care of the difference. Even if you go from 1% to 2% to 3%, I'll fill in the rest. But you keep trying to go high and high and high. Keep making the effort to do better and better and better in one's Krishna consciousness. So if we do these 5 things, if we are focused, have accurate focus, right? If we are unresentful, if we are sincere, if we are relentless and always hopeful, knowing Krishna is giving the guarantee, Krishna is with me, Guru is with me. Why I have to become discouraged? I should not become discouraged. I should not become anxious, too much anxiety. I should not become depressed like that. I should remain happily performing, humbly and joyfully performing my Krishna consciousness, my spiritual life like that. Then we will become fully successful, Krishna says in the purport to that verse. Prabhupada writes that in the purport, and as we know, Srila Prabhupada's purports are, he describes my devotional ecstasies. Actually, they were dictated by Krishna, he said, and I simply wrote them down, and they are my devotional ecstasies. So he writes that in the purport, this 5-point formula. And if we follow this formula, everything will be completely successful in our lives and the lives of those around us as well, because they will see that as an example that they can also follow. So this is chapter 3 of the Bhagavad Gita summary. Thank you very much. Now I'll ask if any of you would like to say something, ask any question. Please do so.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Can you hear me, Prabhuji?
Yes, very clearly. Thank you. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Beautiful class, Prabhu. On the last point, on the 5th point, you said that it is very hopeful to know that, we try our best and Mahaprabhu will fill the gap. But we also see in Chaitanya Charitamrita that so many times devotees been faltering, and like especially our anarthas like pride, lust, and they do come across, especially when we chant and when we try to introspect ourselves. See so much of envy when somebody else do better, especially me being a mother. If somebody else's children are doing good, why? I mean, even if it's for a moment of time, it's like like a glimpse. If you say, like, it comes and it goes, and then I feel, oh, how bad I am. I'm such a mean person, and that to a certain extent it does discourage, and it feels really, really bad. It feels like I'm the worst person in the world. And those things are really hard to do practice. Along with that, doing sadhana becomes very difficult, Prabhuji. So what would you say for that? Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Manaji. Well, yesterday, as we discussed in the chapter 1 and 2, Krishna describes that the living entity, the soul, is amazing soul. A lot of power in the soul, a lot of great things the soul can do. But the weakness comes from the senses, the mind, the intelligence, the false ego. These guys, although they show a lot of strength in controlling the soul and kidnapping the soul, so the soul will not do what it wants to do, they are also very weak in the sense that they're not prone to doing things properly, to doing things nicely like that. And Krishna knows that. In the Bhagavatam, a description is given, a statement is made, that in Kali Yuga, everybody is born all bad. There's no good qualities. They're all bad qualities. Many more than how many spiritual master told me about. I had many more bad qualities than that. But he just was kind enough to stop at 32. But the point is that in Kali Yuga, the living entity is born in a way that with all bad qualities. So we are very weak in many ways. This is why this formula is given of following this methodology. But the one thing that Krishna says is, even though I know that he knows that the living entity is very weak, the living entity cannot do the right thing most of the time, falls prey to making mistakes, becoming, like you said, envious, this, that, and the other. All of these will be forgiven by Krishna. There's only one thing that you must stay away from, and I must stay away from, that everyone must stay away from, and that is offending devotees. You see, like Bali Maharaj was a demon, and he did do certain things that were not correct in his life. But he was very favorably disposed to devotees, to Brahmins and devotees like that. So because of that, he became very successful in his life as the next Indra. Krishna himself put his foot on his head. I mean, that's amazing. Personally, for Krishna to come and put his foot on any one of our heads, we will become the most glorious people in creation if that happens. So we can see that in this situation, it is true that these things are there amongst us, and we will fall prey to them. But the way to deal with them is to stay in the association of devotees, because there are always going to be devotees who are going to be a little exemplary. That, okay, my child is not the best child in the community, but I'm not envious of the other children because I consider everyone to be a child of God. Everyone is Krishna's child. So if I love Krishna, I love all of his children, right? So I'm not going to think any bad about anyone else's child. In fact, the fact that that person is great means my family member is great because we are part of the same family of Krishna. This is my family member too. That is my child too. As a mother, one should see that everyone's child is your child as well, that we are all related to one another. That if another child does well, we should celebrate that. And then our own children, by that example, will see and also become better. And if our children are not doing better, maybe Krishna has some purpose. Why are we judging everything in this world? Maybe Krishna has some purpose and is not allowing my child to do well right now. Later on, the child can do well. Many times we have seen people become highly successful at an older age. In fact, I remember, although it's not a good example, but still I remember in Time magazine one time, I think it was Time, it could have been Newsweek, but I think it was Time, that was saying the most successful people in this world after they turned 70, and that they had Prabhupada as one of the names of the most successful people in this world after age 70, 70. Okay, now of course we know Prabhupada was always successful, just that we didn't see his success earlier. But the point is, many of the others who were there, they were very unsuccessful when they were younger. A lot of businessmen who become very wealthy in their life failed a lot of times before they became wealthy, like that. So we don't allow our failures to discourage us. At the same time, we keep connected to devotees, always good examples. We read about good examples from scripture, from Bhagavatam, from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, like that. We read. And then we associate with devotees. And we take part in kirtan. And we actually take part in pushing this movement forward, pushing Krishna consciousness forward, God consciousness forward, pushing forward a life of mode of goodness, like that, in spirituality. So in the process, we will, it's like, how when you turn the fan off, the fan comes down to a halt slowly. Our good qualities will increase, and our bad qualities will come down. And like I said, if we just stay away from offending devotees, everything else will be fine. Even if we die with some bad qualities, Krishna will allow us to move forward. Lord Chaitanya definitely guarantees that. Just don't offend devotees. When you offend devotees, then Krishna becomes very unhappy. Then he doesn't want us around him or his people, because that is very hurtful to him. He says, nothing hurts me except when somebody offends my devotee, then I become very angry. My hands shake with rage, like that. So just stay away from that part. And enviousness, also control that enviousness. Enviousness is there because we are ignorant. We are thinking this person is not my child. But every child is connected to each and every one of us. They're all important. And if that child does well, everyone's child will do better. A rising tide lifts all boats. So if any of the children do better, other children will start doing better as well as a result, because by association, everybody will do better.
Thank you.
And that reminds me, today was the day when we were supposed to celebrate Festival of Joy. Today is the 28th of March. And someone had asked this question earlier on, that please can you tell us a little about why do we celebrate Rath Yatra? So Rath Yatra is celebrated for many, many good reasons. Obviously, the most important reason is Krishna loves us and he wants us to engage in festivals so that we can become happy in his association. But there's a nice story told in scripture about the gopis were having an argument with Krishna. And they were telling Krishna that we do so much for you, we love you so much, but oftentimes you do not reciprocate well with us. You do not properly reciprocate with us. like in the middle of the Rasa Leela, you left us and went away as if it didn't matter, and we were having such a nice time dancing with you, and you just walked away like that. Many times Krishna does things that really hurt the feelings of the gopis, like that. He will say things sometimes that are a little insulting to them, like, how can you leave your husbands and come here in the middle of the night, how that type of thing, things like that. So the gopis were saying that we love you so selflessly, so much love we give you, but you don't reciprocate. Why don't you reciprocate properly with us? So Krishna says, no, I do reciprocate. He's arguing back, giving his reasons, and the gopis were completely in disagreement. They're saying, no. They kept telling him why his answers were not satisfactory. They're not satisfying. And, so finally, Krishna puts his hands up and says, okay, I surrender, I agree. There's no way I can repay your love for me except by giving you more service. And so the gopis started laughing, and they're saying how nice that is, right? It's like, you go to work and you have a job and you say to the boss, I did such nice work for you. Why don't you pay me more? And the boss says, well, I'll give you more work. And your more work will be your higher pay. So, that's not really higher pay. So anyway, the gopis, they accepted it, but they realized that was not satisfactory either. That answer was not satisfactory. So when Gauranga Mahaprabhu came on this planet, he knew about this pastime. And he really, really Krishna wanted to pay back the gopis. He wanted to pay back the devotees in a way that would be satisfying. So he made this arrangement of Rath Yatra. In Rath Yatra, it is said that Krishna is repaying his debt to the devotees. And he allows the devotees to have a truly joyful time. And this is why we're calling it the Festival of Joy, because it's a time of great joyfulness, total ecstasy. Everybody is completely happy, doing so many different types of services that Mother Padma and her team arrange so nicely. And it's like pure ecstasy. The whole program is just pure ecstasy. You can smile all the way from the program starting to the program ending, you can smile. And you can even smile after that because you remember some of the great things that happened on that day like that. So the pastime so happened that you might remember that Krishna went to the battlefield of Kurukshetra because of this great war based on which we are listening about the Bhagavad Gita. And so the gopis came to take Krishna back to Vrindavan because they knew that he wasn't so happy. This is why they say the story of the Mahabharata is not considered a very advanced story of Krishna consciousness, of spirituality, because the people in Mahabharata, the players in Mahabharata, had a lot of I, me, and mine attitude, that type of thing. Even the best of them had those attitudes, and Krishna was very dissatisfied with everybody in the Mahabharata, and so many people died, etc., and still they didn't learn many lessons like that. And so the gopis knew that Krishna is not really happy, and he really needs to come back home to be happy. Only in Vrindavan, Golok Vrindavan is going to be, Gokul Vrindavan is going to be really happy. So they went to bring him back. And when they were bringing him back, that was the Rath Yatra. So they were pulling him in the cart, and Radharani and Krishna were exchanging glances at one another. Many wonderful things were happening. That is why it is said on Rath Yatra day, if you see Lord Jagannath on the Rath, then you will go back to Godhead, because it was such a wonderful time in that pastimes that it happened. The gopis were so happy, Radharani was so happy, Krishna was so happy, Balaram was so happy, and even Subhadra was very happy because she was there too. It's amazing. Subhadra is, as we know, Yogamaya herself, an expansion of Radharani and Yogamaya herself. So like that, it's just an amazing, amazing time. And of course, the story of how Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra happened to come on the planet is also part of the Rath Yatra story, and how Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. The story is told that one time when Krishna and Balaram and Subhadra were in Dwarka, Mother Rohini, who is the mother of Balaram, was telling stories to the queens about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, and the queens were totally amazed. And so Krishna was came past that room, the door was closed, so he put his ear to the door to hear what was happening inside, and he was hearing these stories that Mother Rohini was telling, and he became so ecstatic that his eyes became so big, they became like saucers. So we can see how Lord Jagannath's eyes are like that, like saucers, it's a cup and saucer, so like round saucers, like that, and really wide open like that. He was completely stunned by the pastimes that he was hearing of Vrindavan. And then Balaram came and he put his ear there. He had the same situation. The same thing happened with Subhadra. So that's why their eyes are like that. They became stunned. And so in a sense, we look at the deities of Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, they look like they're stunned. Their hands are withdrawing into their body. Their feet have already withdrawn into their body because they're so stunned. The eyes are completely wide open like that. And they look very happy, that type of thing. So these are all pastimes that we hear during the parade of Jagannath Rath Yatra. And the devotees sing and dance together, and they feast together, and they show a lot of love to one another. And anybody who joins the festival feels like, wow, this is an amazing festival. Srila Prabhupada really wanted it to happen, but from a very young age. He would dream that this festival would go all over the world. It's the best of all festivals for everybody to become fully Krishna conscious like that so nicely. And so that, unfortunately, because of coronavirus, we were not able to celebrate today, but at least we can celebrate it in our hearts. Let's celebrate those things in our hearts, in our minds. Remember the one that we had last year and the year before that, and other Rath Yatras around the world that we might have attended. The first one that we ever did in our lives like that. And be completely ecstatic today. Today's day of great happiness in that way. And as you know, we've been hearing through the various sites that tomorrow through Thursday is going to be a very rough time astrologically for coronavirus. A lot of people are going to catch it all over the world in very large numbers. And so please be careful. Take care of yourselves so that, be a little cautious. Don't take unnecessary risks like that. Thank you very much. Anybody else had anything to say or ask any questions?
One question, Prabhu. This is Chandramohan Ramanujas.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, can you remind us all sort of offenses, like when you think in the mind it's an offense, or physically you abuse is an offense, or what are the different offenses?
Thank you very much. Yes, thinking in the mind is an offense, but you do not get the bad result of that offense if you've just thought it in the mind. Because Kali Yuga, Krishna gave this dispensation that even if you think something bad, you will not get the reaction. But the problem is that thinking turns to feeling, then turns to willing, and then turns to doing. You see what I'm saying? That's the problem. And so try to check it right in the mind. When you think about anything that is offensive, stop yourself and say, don't do that. Don't go there. There's no need. Everyone is Krishna's child. Krishna will deal with the person in the way. The authorities will deal with the person in the way. This is why when the authorities deal with the person and then that the person feels like the authority is offending me, the authority is not offending. The authority is trying to make a correction, And of course, the authority must have that type of attitude and mood. If the mood and attitude is not right in the authority, then yes, the authority will get bad reaction also. But the point is, apart from the authority, nobody else has the right to actually correct others in a way that is offensive. You can correct them lovingly, just like how we love our children. We correct them so many times, but with love. We don't offend them, see, like that. So in the mind, the idea is it is there in, it's now about to grow into a seed. You see what I'm saying? So, and some people say it's already in seed form. It's not quite in seed form, but it is going to be coming into a seed, and seed will sooner or later turn into a plant. You see what I'm saying? So check it there, fry the seed as it is happening, so that it actually doesn't happen. But then offenses that are actually by words and by deeds happening, because you've now brought it outside yourself, those do have severe reactions. And some of the most severe reactions come in later lives, not even in this life, because the reaction is so heavy that because you did it now, all the past good and bad reactions that you were supposed to get will come in their sequence, and then this one will come later. And if it comes immediately, then you should know that you must be a little better purified personality. So it came a little sooner. But the idea is that stay away from from offenses. And in this regard, worshipping Lord Varahadev, Kola Varahadev, the Varahadev who is in Kola Dvipa, in Navadvipa, Mayapur Navadvipa, is very important, because this personality forgives us and trains us properly so that we don't be offensive towards other people, like that. So this is the process.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, there are some questions in the chat box. Can you please read, if you don't mind?
Yeah, okay.
We give priority to them.
So there's Rath Yatra, and then there was, does Krishna forgive offenses committed to us when we are in earlier stage of becoming a devotee? Okay, the question is whether Krishna forgives offenses committed by us when we are in the earlier stage of becoming a devotee. Yes, Krishna will forgive, but the forgiveness comes only when we actually do what is called prayaschita. Prayaschita means that we should actually do those things that overcome the offenses. And the best thing to do, according to Krishna, is to serve the same devotees that we have offended in a way that the devotees will become happy with us. Then the offenses will be forgiven by Krishna. Otherwise, the reason Krishna won't immediately forgive the offense is because you really hurt his child, one of his children. And so, and then if you come to me and come to Krishna and say, forgive me, but the child is hurting there, then that obviously is not the right way to deal with the situation. The child must be corrected. The situation of the child must be corrected. So this is why we have to actually do that. And then the next question here says that in practicing going back to Godhead, if one is in sadhana bhakti, trying to be Krishna conscious always, and practicing going back to Godhead is the real goal of life. And yesterday you mentioned that always be encouraged and to double your Krishna consciousness, your spiritual things, double things. How can it make us be simple living and high thinking? How can that be simple living and high thinking? Okay, so how it becomes simple living and high thinking is that the point is that we double everything. This is our intention. Okay, we want to double everything. You must remember that when a devotee has an intention, Krishna will fulfill intentions. Remember, he says, you do your duty, leave the result to me. So how you do it simply is do it within your nature. See, something is simple if you really love doing it. Like say, for example, on Rath Yatra Day, good example is today, right? Festival of Joy Day. On Festival of Joy Day, so many people do so many services that are really heavy services. I mean, they really do a lot of heavy lifting today. I remember one devotee who came last year. He told me, I was sitting in my booth and I didn't have anything to eat. I started at 9 o'clock in the morning. People started coming visiting with me. And I finished at 6 o'clock in the night. For 9 hours, I did not eat anything. I just drank a little bit of water, had no time to eat. Because every second someone was in front of me talking about, this is Jagannath Prabhu, he was talking about, astrology and things like that. He says, every moment I was there. And it was really heavy. And if you know Jagannath Prabhu like I do, because I'm closely associated with him, he likes to eat, he likes to take a break and have a nice meal and things like that. He likes to relax a little, not to keep working all the time. But he said, I worked so hard those 9 hours. I've never worked that hard. But I loved every moment of it. Because he loved it, it was simple for him, right? It wasn't hard. And it was high thinking because he was trying to always serve others so that they can become more advanced in their consciousness and in their Krishna consciousness, because that's how he does things. He tries to encourage people, get closer to Krishna like that. So this is how you do simple living and high thinking. This is why knowing your nature is very important. And coming to people like myself and others who talk to people about their nature. We do readings and we figure out the nature. And then, and then from your own example, in your lifestyle, you can see your nature. Then we make sure that you know your nature properly. And when you do your nature, you love what you do, you won't have a problem. All of us who love what we do, we don't have any problems having very long hours, working very hard, eating very little, sleeping very little, this, that, and the other. We have no problem because we love what we're doing. And so it's simple. For us, it's very simple. And it's high thinking because always thinking about Krishna, always reaching out to others to help them. So like that, it's simple living and high thinking. And then the next one says here, Thank you. Questions so much. how can we implement the teaching we learned every morning from each chapter throughout the day? How can we implement? That's a very good point. How do we implement? So implementation really means that it goes through the process of thinking, feeling, willing, and then doing. So at least start thinking in those lines, whatever Krishna is telling us, start thinking, yes, I would like to be like that. This is how I'd like to do things. And then start doing some simple things in that way, in that regard. Move forward. Like if it says, please become more renounced, please stop thinking that you are the Lord of the world and you are the enjoyer. Think of Krishna as the enjoyer and the Lord of the world, and do things for his pleasure. Then, you start saying to Krishna, oh Krishna, I know I'm not doing everything for your pleasure. I know I'm trying to do everything for my pleasure. I'm only doing for my pleasure and the pleasure of my wife, my husband, my children, my father, my whoever. But please accept that I really want to do it for your pleasure. And from now on, please think I am only doing for your pleasure. And I will try and become better and better and better at getting out of that mentality that I'm doing it for my pleasure and I'm doing it for because I am the great person in this world and everybody should bow down to me, etc. No, I'm going to give up that mentality, and over a period of time you will. Just like a fan that is rotating at full speed, that fan will slow down. So step by step you'll move forward. And in this process, it's very important to stay in the association of devotees. When you ask the question, then right now, of course, I don't have the time, but if you met me personally, we can talk about the little steps you can actually take. Talk to devotees who know these things because they've been in the Krishna consciousness long enough, got trained up properly, learned how to do things, do this all our lives. This is all we do all our lives. Reach out to people and help them. Step by step, what can you do? How can you maybe give a little of your money to Krishna's service, a little of your time to Krishna's service, this, that, and the other, and with the right type of attitude. Prabhupada said the secret of success is a humble attitude of service. Have the right attitude, the mood. It is said that devotee becomes successful because the devotee does three things: understands the mood of the acharya, understands the instructions of the acharya, and lives their life according to the mood and instructions of the acharya. Does service according to that, like that. So these are some steps there. All right, then the next one says, that's about what I'm seeing here. Please, can you repeat the 5 points again? So the 5 points are: number one, have a proper focus in your life. The best focus is Krishna's happiness. Everything I do is for Krishna's pleasure. That's the greatest focus to have. So the bigger the why, the more you're going to do. Why means WHY. The bigger the why, the more you're going to do. The biggest why is Krishna himself. So that's number one. Number two, be unresentful. It means don't resent the fact that you have to wake up early in the morning, go to Mangalarti, chant your rounds, give up eating meat, fish, and eggs, giving up drinking tea and coffee, Coca-Cola, so many things we love in our life, right? Some of the things we have to give. Don't become resentful that you have to give them up. You're doing something bigger now. Go for the bigger things. Number three, be sincere. Do it because you love to do it. Sincerity. Number four, relentless. Don't ever give up. Never give up. And five, know that Krishna is guaranteeing. His guarantee means you will succeed. That's the only guarantee that works. So know that it's Krishna's guarantee, and that if I'm a devotee, it'll be successful. And these five things will allow us to move from being even the weakest devotee will become the strongest devotee. And none of you here are the weakest devotees. So obviously, if the weakest devotee can do it, the stronger ones can easily do it, like that. So thank you very much, everybody. Hare Krishna. And I think we agreed that we will do some kirtan, last 5 minutes or something.
Yes, Prabhuji. And maybe everybody can turn on their videos so we can see each other. Haribol.
Thank you.
We can do kirtan.
Okay. You want to lead the kirtan, Prabhu?
Prabhuji, please do it.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to do Lord Nrsimhadev's pranam, because we're going into this very difficult 5 days. Like I said, from a scriptural, from an astrological point, actually accurate. The reading is accurate. It's not just others saying. I've done some studies as well, and I see that it's actually correct. So let's do Lord Nrsimhadev's pranam. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Lad lad daine.
Lad lad
Hiranyakashi Purakshaha.
Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha.
Ratanka Nakhalaye. Ton Singha Paraton Singha. Toya Toyam Taton Singha. Singha Vidaye Singha. Singhamadim Sharanam Prapadye.
Sharanam Prapade.
Avakara Kamalagare Natham Abhuta Shingam Dalita Hiranya Kashipu Tanumingam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadhita Narahari Rupa Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare
Keshavadayata Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare
Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Ananta Shesh Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Ananta Shesh Jaya
Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Narasimha Dev Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Ananta Shri
Jaya Vigna Vinash Jaya Nrsimha Dev Vigna Vinash Jaya Nrsimha Deva Jaya
Nrsimhadev Jaya Nrsimhadev
Nrsimhadev Jaya Nrsimhadev Nrsimhadeva Jaya Nrsimhadeva Jaya Jaya Narahari Jaya Narahari 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 Jaya
Jaya Narahari Jaya Narahari Jaya
Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya
Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada, Prabhupada Srila, Prabhupada Jaya.
Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.
Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada, Jagadguru Prabhupada Jaya.
Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Jaya, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada.
Guru Deva Jaya, Guru Deva, Guru Deva Jaya, Guru Deva Jaya.
Jaya Guru Deva Jaya, Guru Deva Jaya.
Hari Bol,
Hari Bol, Hari Bol,
Hari Bol, Hari
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.
Jai Gaur Premanande, Vanchakal,
Hari Bol.
Sindhubhya, Prabhupada, Vaishnavya, Namo Namaha. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai.
Jai,
Dev Bhagavan ki Jai.
Jai,
Raj ki Jai.
Jai.
Kumar ki Jai.
Jai,
Guru Gauranga ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari
Bol, Hari Bol.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Really appreciate your wonderful class. Thank you, everyone. And Prabhuji, tomorrow we are doing an international japa during this time. So maybe tomorrow we might not have the class, but day after tomorrow.
Ah,
Tomorrow we all can join for an international japathon.
what time does it start?
6:30 a.m. For 3 hours.
6:30 to 9:30. So people can join at any time. Some can join for the whole time, whatever they want.
Yes, so we can do japathon, international japathon.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare
Hare Krishna. Nanda.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhu,
Thank you,
thank
Nityananda Prabhu.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Sarojaya Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Roger.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Nice to see everybody. Hari Bol.
Thank you.
Dandot Pranam, Gauranga.
you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram.
Ram, 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 Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.